opinion, The Parent Trap is pretty much a perfect film. Growing up, I wanted to be Hallie. I wanted to have a secret twin. I wanted to go to summer camp. I wanted to pierce my friends' ears. But interested to see online an uptick in interest in one particular character, that it was not the character I would have expected, though maybe I should have. And that character is Meredith Blake. Before I go on, if you'd like to hear more from me, you can follow me on Instagram at thingssophiemakes, TikTok at thingssophiemakes. I'm posting a lot over there at the moment, and if you follow me, you can see me work on projects like this flower vase vest and also my collages that I've been making, and I would love it if you came and joined in. I'm also on Substack and the link is in the bio. If you are not familiar, Meredith is the 26-year-old fiancée of the twins' dad. She's desperate to marry him for his money, and once she does, she's planning to ship the twins off to boarding school in Switzerland. She's very clearly the villain of the film, but online, she's having a bit of a moment. People are recreating her outfits. They're commenting underneath clips of her saying, she was in the right, she never did anything wrong. Meredith was not the true villain of this movie. She was just trying to get her bag. I find this very interesting, and it got me thinking because Meredith is not the only mean blonde who has had a bit of a comeback. The next one that comes to mind is, of course, Sharpay Evans from High School Musical. She's not pure villain, but she's certainly the film's antagonist. But now, is there anyone more closely associated with the series, more iconic, more beloved, more memed? Despite the narrative of the film clearly telling us both of these women are spoiled and unkind, they have been taken on as kind of icons. The next blonde supervillain that I think helps make my point is Regina George. For a long time, the internet has been cooking up the theory that Regina is not the true villain of Mean Girls, despite what the film very clearly would have us believe. Viewers often now instead point to Janice as the true evil behind the film. Obviously, the point of the movie is that all of these girls are behaving badly, but Regina's character specifically has the trappings of vanity, extreme wealth, being very spoiled that clearly show the writers want us to recognise Regina as the baddie, even if she's not the only person behaving badly in the film. But I think increasingly people see Regina's lifestyle of wealth, self-interest, being forthright in how she speaks, popularity as desirable and aspirational. So what is going on here? To begin optimistically, I think in part we have to acknowledge that all three of these admittedly excellent movies are written with a very specific perspective on what feminism means. They are films where women who are interested in fashion and money are bad. And they're often contrasted with their more earthy, less superficial, more humble protagonists. And that's how we're supposed to really know that the other woman is the baddie. Maybe this is a rejection of the hyper-feminine being seen as vacuous and even villainous. But I also think we cannot ignore that all of these women are blonde, white, thin, straight, according to the writers. Yes, they reflect a 90s through to the 2000s view that wanted women to be humble and beautiful without knowing it, but we definitely can forgive people for more sins if they're super sexy. I'm looking at you, Jesus. You also live in such a visual age. The great hairdos, the iconic fashion that these characters have that's very replicable as well for your own video makes them perfect for the TikTok age. And seeing the comments about Meredith Blake and the sort of celebration of her selfishness made me think about the internet's reaction to Chapel Roan. Now, I've been a Chapel Roan fan for a really long time, and I don't want to use this video as a chance to tell you that I've been listening to Pink Pony Club since 2022. I don't want to do that. But Chapel cannot speak at the moment for being cancelled, whether it's for her honesty around her perception of motherhood, her anger at photographers, or her refusal to show the kind of deference and gratitude to fans that we have come to insist upon from musicians. This gets her in a lot of trouble, mostly, from what I've seen, with other women online. Because you see, Chapel Roan is not being nice enough. She's being a mean girl. Despite her comments ultimately affecting no one, the issue that people single out is tone, lack of gratitude, seeming spoiled, being mean. So the next person who I could not keep out of my mind in this, and I can't not mention, is of course Blake Lively. Now, you might feel any sort of way about celebrities being visibly frosty towards interviewers, but I will say I think most of us have had a social interaction we would not want filmed and put on the internet. I have worked in customer service, I'm quite sure. And we also know that a lot of this was inflamed by a deliberate PR smear campaign. Yet at the same time, people took delight online in joining in, on doing impressions, on dredging up before photos that showed her ugly previous face, which of course reflected her moral character. People dragged her fashion sense and, generally speaking, fumed in a way that was not very Yas Queen Slay, get your bag. She was not afforded the same forgiveness as our fictional Mean Girls. Now, I do think it's relevant that Chapel is gay, and in Blake's case, there was a man involved that we could all side with instead. Ultimately, as I wrote this and tried to figure out what we're seeing here, I don't think we're coming towards a place where women are allowed to be quote-unquote meaner. We're not allowing women to be brash, unapologetic, or even superficial without consequence. The more I think about it, what I see is that we want permission for ourselves to be those things. We want to individually be allowed to be more unkind, more vain. Online, we want to speak with snark and vitriol without consequences. We want to shop for things we don't need and not think about where they came from. We want to look good and act mean and be endorsed for it. And we don't want to extend the privilege to anybody else. In fact, when we see other people doing it, we want to enjoy telling them off. So I actually see this reshaping of the mean girl partly as us seeing ourselves in her and wanting to let ourselves off the hook for that. I think in a lot of online spaces, there's a movement to step back from basic kindness or even manners and be seen as iconic for it, just like these girls from the movies. It makes sense to me that as the culture gets more conservative, we would look to these hyper-individualistic, blonde, rich women. As long as we don't afford the same nuances to other people, we are going to be victims of the system we've created. I don't want this video to be really bleak, but I think we all have a responsibility online to go back to that sense of community that we once imagined it could have. It sounds trite to say, but leaving nice comments, disengaging from obviously misogynistic and hateful content. Anyway, I would love to hear what you guys think about this, if you notice this happening in the culture or if you see any other examples of it. Thank you for watching, and bye!